It's important that you know you can leave at any time.
Why? What's in there? Couldn't you just open the door? Oh my God.
Welcome back to Remembering the Razzies.
What's up, everyone?
Exhaustive double feature edition.
Yeah, this week we watched Fant Four Stick and 50 Shades of Grey. They were both bad.
Oh my gosh. So what movie should we talk about first?
I guess we'll talk about the one that we watched first.
That's
Fant
right.
Four Stick.
Fant Four Stick. I can explain the plot of this real quick. So you have Reed Richards as a kid, and he wants to make a device that can travel through dimensions, and he has a little sidekick named Ben. Fast forward a few years, and they're in high school, and Reed Richards makes a device that can travel dimensions. And this other guy comes up and is like, I work for a tech agency. This is my daughter, Susan Storm. Come work for us so we can make your transportation device. And then fast forward further, Reed Richards gets a full ride scholarship to unnamed university, and he makes his teleportation device with help from Victor Von Doom and Susan Storm and Johnny Storm. They send a test monkey to a new dimension, and the monkey makes it to the new dimension and back safely. So they're like, well, we should try that. So they try it, minus Susan Storm. She's not invited. This is a boys' trip. The dimension turns out to be really bad.
Kind of. It's not even really bad. It's mostly empty, and then there's some green goo that they dumb and they touch.
They poke with a stick,
Yeah.
and then the green goo turns out to be bad. Victor Von Doom disintegrates. The others go back in the teleportation device back to this dimension. The green goo seeps into the device and makes the device explode mid-transfer. Johnny Storm catches on fire. Ben gets hit with rocks. Oh, I forgot to say Ben comes back.
Yeah, Ben's
Who cares?
also there.
Ben's just there.
They literally are like Victor Von Doom, Michael B. Jordan, and Reed Richards are hanging out, and then Reed Richards is like, hey, listen, there's 4 pods, and I've got a friend. Can we bring him? And they're like, do you have to?
I could just call Susan. She's downstairs. No,
this is a boys' night.
Boys' night.
Let's go to outer space.
Johnny Storm catches on fire.
Uh-huh.
Ben gets hit with rocks.
Susan Storm gets
Hit with a beam of cosmic energy, and Miles Teller stretches.
Yeah, he's stretching out a cramp in the pod when he gets hit by cosmic energy.
And they become Fan Four Stick. Except, not really. Reed Richards stretches out of his imprisonment medical thing and is like, I'm just gonna go, I'm gonna figure this out, we're gonna get help.
Title card, 1 year later. He has not come back.
The US government forces Ben to go kill terrorists.
Alleged terrorists, we don't even know.
Susan Storm and Johnny Storm are being trained to also kill small children in an undisclosed country. And then they find Reed Richards and they're like, we need you to help us build this transportation this thing again. And Reed Richards is like, well, it's nothing I can do, you're the government. So they build the thing again. They find Victor Von Doom, and he's still alive and has weird green goo powers. And then he turns out to be a bad guy, and they fight him, and then they come back and they're like, US government's kind of sus.
Yeah.
And they make their own Fan Four Stick. I tried to make that as concise as possible. There it is.
Yeah. It's not a good movie by any standard.
I didn't mind the movie until we hit like an hour mark. Until they got their powers. That's when I was like, well, nothing works anymore.
Yeah, so the thing is, this movie's runtime I think is like 1:45, an hour 45. The director originally cut it to be 2.5 hours, and then the studio cut it down a lot, and you can kind of tell. The first 2/3 of the movie, up until they get their powers, is like a fine superhero movie. Like, it's nothing special, but like the characters kind of likable. They definitely like yada yada through some of the details of their relationship. But then as soon as they get their powers, first thing that goes wrong, they split up. In general, the Fantastic Four, you kind of want to keep together by themselves. It's just like one guy's a scientist, another one is a scientist, and then her brother is also there, and then Reed Richards' bodyguard essentially is also there. If you split any of them off by themselves, they're just boring as shit. Second, they're constantly like, oh, we gotta get the cure to these powers, we hate our powers, like we just want to be normal again. But at the same time, like they all love using their powers, like they're constantly training. Ben initially hates his powers, but like by the time that Reed Richards gets back to him a year later, Reed Richards is like, does it hurt? And then Ben's like, yeah, but I'm used to it.
And that's the end of the conflict.
Yeah, that's the end of the conflict. Everyone's bros after that point. And then, like, the final fight is super lame. Essentially, everyone gets to the planet. They do that thing that they do in every team movie where they try fighting the villain one by one and they all fail. And then they come together and they fight together and they win. But, like, the last fight has to be maybe, like, I would say 6 minutes long total. It's just really poorly executed, because essentially Doctor Doom in this movie doesn't have lightning powers. He just kind of controls rocks.
My favorite is Ben.
Yeah.
He's like, oh no, rocks. And then suddenly he's like, wait a second, I am rocks.
And he just bursts it off. Yeah. The old Fantastic Four didn't have a great ending either, but at least like there was some team dynamic. This one, I'm trying to think what the ultimate combo move for them was. There really was only one.
There was one.
Where Human Torch throws a fireball and then Susan Storm wraps it around him. Like, that's pretty much it.
This movie is essentially boiled down an hour of setup. The villain gets introduced before the third act.
Yeah.
And then you have the climax.
Yeah, it's really rushed. I do think that the universe that they're setting up could work. I think that they just had the wrong plot.
Yeah, I think this really lies in the screenplay and the studio decisions that were made.
Which is really unfortunate. The IMDb, if you go to the trivia, has like a beat by beat of what the original script was, and it is nothing like this movie. Like, it had Galactus, it had alien civilizations, it was supposed to have the flying car, which is what they mentioned in like the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just not good.
Man, dude, I don't know. The studio really fucked that movie hard.
Yeah, I'm feeling really whipped about it. 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey is a movie that originally started as a Twilight fan fiction.
We've brute forced through both of these series in the past. I could do Twilight again any day.
We're currently watching Twilight.
After watching this one especially, I could not brute force my way through these movies again.
No, I wouldn't want to. So this movie starts out, Anastasia Steele is like interviewing Christian Grey, who's like this powerful billionaire who's like very recluse. He doesn't publicly date anyone, and she is immediately horny.
I'm gonna rewind you back a bit, because before she goes to the interview, she's doing her hair in the mirror and bites her lip at herself.
Yeah, so she meets up with Christian Grey. Christian Grey is like, yeah, I can manipulate her, and so he does. And essentially they have a nice date. By nice date, I mean she goes out to the bar with her friends and calls him drunkenly. He's like, are you drunk right now? She's like, yeah. And he's like,
I know where you are, I'm coming.
And she's like, what? He hangs up on her, shows up, picks her up while she's super drunk, brings her home, but doesn't sleep with her because he's a gentleman. Essentially, they start forming a relationship, but he wants her to sign this contract and doesn't want to like go out on cute dates. He only wants to
Fuck. Hard.
She's like, I kind of want to like go to a movie, and he's like, no, I just want to put my entire arm in your butt. I'm gonna make you a Muppet.
Yeah, he's
essentially the whole movie is like cutting between sex scenes and not sex scenes, which I guess is how you could describe every movie, really.
like the Muppet movie.
Yeah, you could say the Muppet movie is like that. It's just bizarre because you have this couple where she loves his penis so much that she's willing to look past every other red flag that he's giving off, and he gives off so many.
If I could estimate the red flags that I found in this movie, probably 40.
Yeah, it's like 1 or 2 every other minute.
Yeah.
He's abusive. He is possessive. He just like breaks into her house multiple times.
Yeah.
He sold her car and bought her a new one without her knowledge.
And
And
he always knows where she is.
Yeah.
Like pinpoint GPS
Yeah.
where she is at.
it's hard to get into the relationship, like get invested in the relationship, because like every once in a while Christian will do this cute thing where he like takes her on a helicopter ride and he'll take her on a jet. And then like every other scene is just her being like, hey, can we like do more cute dates? And he's like, no, I fucking hate them. You suck.
And then he's like, oh, if I really want this, I can't treat her like dog shit.
Yeah, but then he just does anyway.
I should buy her food and then treat her like shit.
Exactly. So essentially these two people who don't really like each other keep dating because the sex is really good. She gets fed up after he beats the literal fuck out of her.
She's like, this is what you wanted the whole time?
Anastasia, please don't make me say yes because I can tell that you're upset. But yes, I did want to hit you this whole time. And she's like, oh, okay, then I'm gone. Bye. And then the movie just ends.
It just ends.
There's
it's
a
very
montage.
abrupt.
Yeah, there's like a montage of them like doing things on their own, and like it's just so confusing because she sends him a gift of like, remember the good times, and like they have a montage of all the good times, and then the movie just ends without them like even talking to each other.
Basically, this movie is a will they, won't they, as in, will they be in an abusive, dominant, submissive relationship, or will they be in a cute, happy relationship?
Turns out, neither. They just break up. Without knowing that the next two movies exist, this is a very weird movie.
Yeah.
As an audience member, you feel like they probably should be together, like they want to be together, but Christian's so like not okay. Like he's got problems.
Yeah.
The whole movie is just her overlooking those problems, and then at the end she's like, oh yeah, actually these are actual problems, and then she breaks up with him and the movie's over. Yeah.
It's 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Grey. And yeah, so these both won Worst Picture. What?
Yep.
What were they all nominated for?
What they were also nominated for. So let's start with Fantastic Four.
Okay.
Four Stick was nominated for 5 Razzies, and it won 3. Worst Prequel, Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel, Worst Director, and Worst Picture. Let's start with Worst Prequel, Remake, Ripoff, or Sequel. The best we can compare this to, I think, is the 2 Fantastic Four movies that came out in the aughts.
Yeah.
I've seen the first Fantastic Four once with you. I don't really remember it that much, so it's not fair for me to compare.
Okay.
I'm sure you've seen them more.
I've seen it so much. This movie is worse in pretty much every way. Just starting with like the characters' relationships and dynamics in general, this movie kind of diverges from the classic comic book relationships and stuff and like the canon, which is fine, but the way that they change it doesn't work. By default, I just have to be like, well, you shouldn't have done that. You should do the original comic. Because in the original movie, Reed Richards and Ben Grimm have basically the same relationship. They're just two bros. But the main difference between everyone else is, for one, they're all adults. They're not like college kids. And because of that, Reed Richards had dated Susan Storm in college. He was too focused on his work. She felt cut off from him, and so she leaves him for Victor Von Doom, who was one of Reed Richards' like colleagues. Basically, they graduated college without talking to each other, and eventually, after Victor Von Doom is working on a project, he and Reed Richards start working together, and that's kind of how they go to space and get their powers and stuff. And so that dynamic immediately is already more interesting, because in the new movie, Victor Von Doom, it's kind of unclear. It seems like he has dated Susan Storm, but at the same time, he's like an incel who like doesn't really talk to her, and like he just kind of stares from far away and gets mad when Reed Richards talks to her. So that sucks. Nothing against Michael B. Jordan, because I think he's a wonderful actor and he can be really good, but in this movie, he's super lame. Chris Evans in the old one, it's definitely a campy character when Chris Evans does it, but it's a much more fun and cool character. He's introduced by riding a motorcycle and kissing a hot chick in a convertible while riding alongside her, and then he shoots ahead when he's done with her. Like, that's how he's introduced, and it's super cool to a 12-year-old boy. I don't even really think they're comparable because they're super different stories. The first one also, like, the pacing is a lot better. They get their powers probably within the first 20 minutes. Their powers don't materialize instantly, which gives them a lot of room for comedy, as opposed to in this movie they instantly get their powers, they're instantly jailed and like trained and stuff. In the old movie they have this montage where like they can play with their powers a little bit and like they're kind of figuring out what's happening, and like Susan Storm is accidentally turning invisible and she doesn't notice but other people's notice. Like there's a lot of fun stuff that they can do that they can't do in this movie. They have like a training montage, they have a hero sequence where like they first come together and save the day and then they fight the big baddie, whereas in this one we miss most of that. It's essentially they work towards getting their powers, they get their powers, and then they fight the main boss.
Yeah.
Like we don't see any growth between them, which really sucks, because I do think that you can make a good Fantastic Four movie. It just hasn't happened. So yes, it is a really bad sequel remake for sure.
Next up, this movie has the honor of getting worst director over 50 Shades of Grey. Knowing the behind the scenes of the studio control and how they changed a bunch of stuff, I don't know if it's exactly fair to have given it to Josh Trank.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I don't know if I trust the dude anyway.
Yeah, he kind of seems shitty from what I've heard. Essentially, the director blamed the studio. I'm sure that there was more stuff in there plot-wise to make it a good movie. At the same time, like, he had directorial control and should have been able to pace it a little bit better.
Yeah.
Like, maybe lean off the first half of the movie and put more in the back half.
Comparing it to the direction of 50 Shades of Grey, 50 Shades of Grey is unfortunately like shot better. I don't know if I could say the actors were directed better. I think the actors were directed better in Fantastic.
Yeah, I think they were just written really poorly.
Written really bad.
Yeah.
I really blame a lot of this movie on the screenplay than anything else.
I would agree. Well, to me, it's tough because the first half of the movie is not that bad. Like, it's an average superhero movie, and in the back half, it's not necessarily the direction that's bad, it's just the pacing, which just comes down to the edit, which again comes down to the studio cutting out 50 minutes of this movie.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of hard to blame him for it, but at the same time, like, it is his movie.
Yeah.
So
I'll give it to him.
Yeah, are we comparing it to 50 Shades of Grey?
Direction-wise, but it's hard because everything that's directed poorly in this movie, vice versa, is directed fine in 50 Shades.
Yeah.
And then we'll save Worst Picture for when we compare them. Let's talk about the nominations for 50 Shades of Grey. 50 Shades of Grey was nominated for 6 awards, and it won 5. Worst Screenplay, Worst Screen Combo, Worst Actor, Worst Actress, and Worst Picture. Let's start with Worst Screen Combo. Just a little hypothetical for you.
Okay.
What if you watched a pornographic film, but really invested into the character's relationship? That's what this dynamic was.
Yeah.
I felt like I was watching 2 pornographic actors build up to softcore porn.
Yeah, I will say there is a lot of sexual tension between the two characters, but a lot of the time it's just like, I don't want to be watching this.
Their chemistry is good for what the characters are written as.
Yeah.
But I don't want to watch an abusive relationship for 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's when you're a cashier at a store.
Yeah.
And a couple comes up and starts fighting in front of you. It's like, I don't want to deal with this. It's funny.
Yeah.
It's entertaining.
Yeah.
But don't do it in front of me. I'm just trying to work.
It's upsetting to watch, for sure.
Yeah. Worst screenplay. I was on the fence about it, and I know this is a line from the book, but when he says,
Because I'm 50 shades of fucked up.
I'm out. You brought up a point as you were saying lines before characters would say them, that this screenplay is just a list of cliches.
Yeah, for sure.
And it doesn't help that the source material is probably just as weak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas Fantastic Four, while the screenplay is bad, and I blame a lot of it on that, I just think the writing in 50 Shades is insufferable.
This is probably the only movie I'll ever say it, but I do think that if Fantastic Four was longer, it would be better. Whereas this script, there's nothing that I could add or take away even that would make it better.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a really bad script.
Worst actor for Jamie Dornan.
I don't think he was that bad.
I don't either. He played a psychotic billionaire. I guess it depends on your interpretation of Christian Grey. Christian Grey is a psychopath.
Yeah.
But if you're watching this and you're like, I'm going to go see this movie on Valentine's Day because I think this is really romantic, then no.
Yeah.
Christian Grey is not a romantic person.
I don't think he's meant to be. Maybe like towards the last movie probably.
But the music tells me otherwise.
Yeah, that's true. The music does tell you that he is very sexual right now, and you should be bricked.
I think he played the part of I'm a rich freak really well.
Now, worst actress.
With Dakota Johnson, on the other hand,
I do think she was pretty bad. She bites her lip a lot.
she talks in wisps.
Any acting mannerism that I don't like, she kind of just does. It's kind of hard to, like, come across as a good actor when the whole time the direction is just act so fucking horny. You can't stand being in the same room as this guy. In that regard, yeah, she's a great actress. She felt horny the whole movie. It's not good acting, and I don't want to see her do it more.
Anyway, let's discuss worst picture. Now, this was a tie year. People think that these two movies were, according to votes, these two movies are equally bad.
I do want to be clear. I don't want to rewatch either of them.
No.
But for very different reasons. Fantastic Four, I think, just doesn't have a good payoff. It has a okay setup, and then it just kind of sucks. 50 Shades of Grey is just bad the whole time, and it's too long, and I got really upset by the end of it.
Fantastic. I didn't mind watching it. Like, I was waiting to see where it went. I was getting impatient at the end. This movie, the whole second half, I was like, I want this movie to be done now.
It does kind of like harp on the same beats over and over again, where Christian is doing something fucked up and she's like, hey, can we just like date normal? And he's like, no. And then they loop that like 6 times. But yeah, 50 Shades of Grey is way worse. I was kind of expecting Fantastic Four to be worse, to be honest.
I was too.
Going into it,
honestly.
like just from what I've heard about it. And it's not. And you know that we're being honest, because we watched Showgirls, and we love Showgirls.
Yeah.
And that was considered a smut film.
Yeah.
This is also considered a smut film, and it sucks.
50 Shades, worse.
Yeah.
Would you like to rank these films?
Sure, I would love to rank these films.
So let's start with Best Made.
Are we ranking both of them?
Yeah, we'll rank both of them in Best Made right now. Let's start
Okay.
with Fantastic. I didn't hate it. I don't think there's, besides the screenplay, everything else is pretty...
It's pretty average.
Yeah.
I'd probably put it in second place.
Second place?
Yeah.
I was thinking lower. I can't really remember movie 43 that much. It's been a while since we watched that one. This movie is kind of on par with Last Airbender for me.
I'd put it above Last Airbender then.
Above Last Airbender? Okay.
I don't know. Yeah, they're pretty on par for me too.
Yeah.
Now that I'm thinking about it.
They're very similar, as in they're very poorly failed adaptations.
Yeah. I'd put it above Last Airbender just because first half of this one isn't that bad.
That's true. Yeah.
Whereas Last Airbender is pretty bad all the way through.
That's fair. And 50 Shades of Grey for Best Made. This one was pretty well made, like production-wise.
Yeah, it's shot very well. The music is all right. The editing, I don't think there was any weird edits for me.
My biggest complaints are the acting and the screenplay.
Yeah.
Basically, well, everything the movie stands for.
Yeah.
But if I'm focusing more on production-wise, I would probably put this in second.
I would also put it in second.
Breaking Down Part 2 is very similar, as in it's acted poorly, the script is bad, but the visuals aren't terrible.
Yeah.
There's a good action scene at the end. I guess this one's got some good action scenes in it. I'd say second best.
Second is just fine for this.
Okay, let's shift to most entertaining.
All right.
Fantastic.
It's not very entertaining.
It's not, but I wasn't bored. There was never a point in Fantastic Four where I was like falling asleep or checking my phone. I was attentive most of it. I would put it below movie 43.
I would also put it below.
Put it
movie
number
43.
3? Yeah.
Movie 43 made me laugh a couple times at least, and Twilight Saga feels pretty much the same to me in terms of entertainment.
Yeah.
Now, 50 Shades of Grey.
50 Shades of Grey?
That one's a little bit harder, because that's lower on my list.
It's lower on my list, too. I would rather watch this than Jack and Jill, but I'd rather watch Twilight than 50 Shades of Grey.
I think that's a good spot.
That's a good spot for it. Are we going through another week where The Last Airbender is still the top of our most entertaining?
Wow. I fucking hate that movie.
So that, as far as I can tell for now, is the last double feature.
Yeah, what a night we have just had.
Anyway, do you know what we're watching next week?
Tell me what we're watching next week.
Next week, put on your MAGA hat, get ready to go back to election 2016, because we're watching Hillary's America, The Secrets of the Democratic Party.
Wow.
Oh boy, am I excited for this one. Shit, I have no end bit for this.
Yeah, me either. I'm not gonna have sex with you on camera, Tristan.
Not again.
Holy fuck, is this wrong? But holy hell, is it erotic?